Welcome to the Bhakti Zone, the zone for Bhakti, the place where we discuss relevant and all topics from a view of Bhakti Yoga, of the devotion and love of the heart. We are your hosts, Vish and Dayal, and we're very interested in sharing some thoughts and realizations and just a discussion on today's topic, which is
as we discussed before, that the topic which was brought to us is vegetarianism, veganism, meat eating, and I told you that the topic is a tricky one because I know a lot of people who are militant on each end, and though I'm following a particular diet, I have respect for, or try to have respect for, people who choose different things. What I really intolerant of people being fanatical and trying to portray themselves as know-it-all and that their way is the best way and the only way. And for me, if you don't come off revealed scripture or godly knowledge, divine knowledge, it's like, why should I listen to you? Or you're a scientist, cool, so what? You just a few years in your life you dwell in certain topic and you think you exhausted everything what is to know about it.
And the science keeps changing.
A lot of things getting debunked. Maybe one day we can just discuss all the crazy stuff which people still believe in, like that the earth is round. I'm joking. No, I'm not a flat earther. But anyway, so this kind of stuff. And so what do you think? How we talk about it, and just presenting what we think and kind of debunking certain things which certain people stand for, at the same time keeping it unfanatical and balanced. And I think it was a challenge when we talk with you and we say, let's just put the camera rolling and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, and the reason why we're saying this is because it can be a sensitive topic for people, because our diet and the food that we eat is such a vital part of being alive, right? It is vital. It is literally our vitality is what we eat. And we become very attached to eating a certain way. And it's very, very difficult for many people to change that way, to change what they eat. For some, it may not be, but I think for the majority of people, I think there is maybe the theoretical idea that a vegetarian vegan diet is healthier. There's maybe some idea that people should lessen their whatever red meat intake or whatever, that it might be better for compassion, that it might be even possibly better for environmental concerns but theoretically, it doesn't really work, because what are we actually doing about it, right? And I've talked to quite a lot of people, had discussions, debates around these things, and I see how attached we become to what we eat. It's very, very difficult to change those patterns. And I can say from my own experience of attempting to really try to change into a fully vegan diet at different phases in my life with my wife, and then there was pizza,
Right.
and just kind of regressing back.
Try tofu pizza.
Yeah, so because the tongue is the most difficult and voracious and uncontrollable. As Bhakti yogis, we chant a prayer before we eat that actually speaks about how it says, Sharirara Vidyajal Jodendriya Tahekal jive fele vishaya sagare, that the senses are a network of paths that are leading to unconsciousness. And of all the senses, the tongue is the most difficult and uncontrollable. It's the most voracious, the word voracious, right? So here we are discussing a topic that has to do with something that we do every single day, multiple times a day. Our lives revolve around food and what we eat. And so it can be, I think, very sensitive for a lot of people. And, and, and I would like to just bring up a question that how important is it to practice like a vegetarian lifestyle? How important is it?
So in you know in Bhakti tradition, it's at least in tradition when I am and you are, it's not uh, it's not debatable, right? It's a part of, if you want to get initiated, if you want to become a full-time practitioner, you promise not to eat meat, fish, or eggs, and you don't you promise some other things, but let's not go into it. It's another topic. But yeah, it's vegetarian diet is part of the life of Bhakti yoga. Not vegan necessarily, vegetarian. That's why a lot of uh, Hare Krishna practitioners, Bhakti practitioners, are vegetarians. Some I was vegan for a long time. I'm mostly vegan even now. Don't have problem with this really, and I consume a lot of soy protein now. And other people say soy, it's very bad for men. It's been debunked also, and I'm 45. My level of testosterone is higher than in young men, because I take supplements, but healthy supplements. I take ashwagandha, B12. I take calcium, some minerals, a lot of stuff. Our food is generally not very rich in a lot of elements, so supplements are there whether you eat whatever you eat, and you need to just make your blood work, see what is missing, and add it up.
Yeah, you're saying that even if you're on a meat-based diet, you're still not going to get
No,
all the
no,
things that your body needs. All
no.
the because some people say that vegetarians they're unhealthy. You're not getting everything you need, especially for growing children or something like that. You know,
I mean, sorry, this is the most uninformed and ignorant thing to say, because people don't live in this environment. You and me, we live in an environment where we have people who has been vegetarian that we know at least for, 60 years. Now, you've been vegetarian and partly vegan all your life. I've been vegetarian for 23 years now and never been healthier. I've been less healthy with all my stomach, everything, when I was 22 than I am at 45 right now. And it's just very ignorant claims that you need to eat meat for health. You can be extremely unhealthy being vegetarian and vegan if you eat processed food, if you don't take supplements, if you just eat junk, which could be totally meat free, but it's really bad for your body. But I haven't seen any, and I've seen a lot of people throughout my traveling and being in Bhakti tradition. I rarely see fat people. I never have seen any obese people among our community. We have, I mean, I haven't seen millions of people. I have thousands and thousands of people. We live here in community with more than 10,000 people, right, in Mayapur. So people usually generally healthy, unhealthy, generally healthier than people in outside world. That's for sure. I can tell. Less diabetes, cancer, and heart disease, all this kind of stuff is statistically less. So somebody who says it's unhealthy is just an ignorant statement, person who doesn't understand. And we are lucky to be. I think it's quite a unique situation. Maybe somewhere in India you have big communities which are vegetarians, But
There's actually full cities that, like
yeah,
when I was in Gangotri, the whole town, they don't allow any meat in the whole town of Gangotri in the Himalayas.
yeah. But in Bhakti, we've been lucky to be and observe, and we don't need any scientific research. Just go make your blood work, check your, do your checkup, and you see what's going on, and we're doing fine.
Yeah,
And people not dying from some strange disease. Of course, people die from cancer, also people, but is all over the world. But I think it's not as much. What to say about mental anxiety, distress, and all this kind of stuff is much less. So yeah, and I'm in relatively okay shape, you in wonderful shape, and we have people, our friends, who are taking part in bodybuilding competition,
absolutely.
and they never ate meat in their life,
Mm-hmm.
and they never take any steroids. I mean, and they did never take any, chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like supplements like ashwagandha or something. It's a natural herbal things which actually helps your body to generate these hormones like testosterone and stuff. Same for women. There's another herb which helps uh, to overcome, for example, for older women to overcome menopausal things. You don't need hormone therapy. It's all this kind of all of stuff were not existing in before, but people were able to live for, in India at least, for hundreds of years. I mean, not for hundreds of years, but up to 100 years, very old, and still
Mm-hmm.
now, and they've been all vegetarians. So I forget about the health claim. Anybody who speaks about health is just out of sheer ignorance. That's it. I don't know. I mean, I will not fight with them, but it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So there's the physical body and the needs of the physical body, and meat is not needed for the physical body. Then there's we've talked about this a little bit in previous ones, but there's like our subtle body, right? And and one of the tenets of yoga is ahimsa, of being non-violent, of not harming any other creature. Himsa means violence, ahimsa, no violence. And so many spiritual traditions all around the world always speak about mercy and compassion, right? And I would say for all beings. And even within, I'm just being reminded right now of, even in the discussion of Chaitanya, the great teacher of the Bhakti philosophy and the avatar of Krishna, and the Chankazi just down the road, the uh, Muslim teacher, and they started having this dialogue around, well, why do you follow? Chaitanya is asking the Kazi, well, even in your tradition, there are regulations around the eating of animals, right? Halal, killed a certain way, sacrificed in a certain way, done with a certain consciousness. You know, every tradition has like guidelines or some regulation around this idea of meat eating. They don't eat pork. Every tradition. I mean, I think traditionally Shabbat means not eating, right? Not eating, I don't know that much about it, but not eating red meat, kosher, right? In the Jewish tradition. So every tradition has that, some guidelines around this, because if it gets out of control, it's just going to cause havoc in society. It causes an imbalance. And that's what we see now happening with the mass kind of unimaginable amount of slaughter of animals that goes on. What is the consciousness that is being created around that? What is the consciousness that is starting? It's not one of compassion, not one of mercy. It's one of just consumption and sense gratification. To gratify my sense, I will literally slaughter an animal. Now, it's one thing if you hunt it and you go and slaughter it yourself. I have some respect for that. I think okay, you went out, you got your, and I'm not talking about slaughtering either with like, assault rifle. Like where's the competition in that, or the challenge in that? No, go out with a bow and arrow, or something like that, and then go slaughter, and then go kill it, and then bring it back, and then skin it and de-gut it, and whatever they do, I don't even know, but whatever happens, and I'm like, okay, well, you're doing this yourself. You're facing, in Sanskrit, the word for meat is mangsa. Mangsa. That literally the word means that I'm killing you now, but mangsa, you will do this to me. So there's this,
Karmic
there's a
consequence.
karmic consequence that's tied into that. And if we as spiritual practitioners, whether it be bhakti or any tradition that we come from, really want to develop our mood of compassion and our mood of tolerance, and the vegetarian meat-free diet is very uplifting and helpful for that type of practice.
Right. So I want to make a disclaimer that we are not militant or fanatical towards others. You will not, what I don't like about any movement is if people don't understand what you do, or they don't follow what you do, you just hate them, you want to destroy them. So this is the craziness. So yes, people who don't understand it, they need to be educated, but in a way that they can understand. You cannot force anybody to change their opinion. The man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. People don't understand. When they try to shove something down somebody else's throat, it just doesn't work. So if you're not able to convince, then obviously people will still live with their karmic consequences. It's not up to us, not up to you, it's not up to me. It's really up to the law of karma, which we were just speaking about in our previous podcast. My parents eating meat, and I love them. And you was telling that some of your friends, now you found out that they eat meat.
And they're yogis, and they're even bhakti practitioners in their own way. And yeah, I found out, and I love them. And I loved them assuming that they didn't eat meat, but then gradually I found out they do. And it was like, okay, well, let's have a dialogue around this, but I love you. So I'm not going to judge you for this. I can't blame you or try to, demean you where you're at.
And sometimes it's really your, religious tradition. In Christianity is not cut and dry, so there's a case, you can have a case for meat eating in Christianity easily. You can make a case also for vegetarianism, and same in Islam. In fact, in Islam, it's even more difficult to make case for vegetarianism than for meat eating. But there are vegetarian Muslims, and there's people who practice Islam, and those who are not fanatical, they understand it's possible. Now they have some ritual which you have to sacrifice animal. It's kind of one of the very, very important rituals in Islam. But again, sacrifice animal. It's not that you just buy meat of the butcher. It's certain things you need to do it yourself, ideally, and then you have this connection with the animal. And even in Vedas, there's animal sacrifice, but it's understood that the animal who properly sacrificed gets either new body or goes to heaven. So it's actually, if you do it properly, it's an act of mercy. But that's why actually Buddha came, because in the name of sacrifice, the slaughter have started, and actually the whole Buddhism, Krishna, one of the incarnation of Krishna as is described in our scriptures, is Buddha. It's the same person who incarnated out of compassion for poor animals being slaughtered. Yeah, just imagine that. How important it is that God comes himself. And he says, forget the Vedas. There's a person who gives the Vedas. He said, just forget it. Main sin is ahimsa. Forget everything, ahimsa. So he just wanted to start merciless slaughter of animals, which is going on right now. I'm pretty sure on a bigger scale than it was before. But so that to bring something in perspective. So different tradition, don't emphasize them, the vegetarianism or veganism, and people don't have much of the impetus to change. They say, I mean, why? And you cannot do anything about it. If somebody of this faith, they can become vegetarian or vegan or not, but they could be otherwise very kind-hearted and compassionate, wonderful human beings. And I've seen so many assholes who are vegans, you know. I'm sorry to say, but one friend of mine, he was working, and there was once, I don't want even to say the city, not to implicate anybody. So there was a vegan restaurant opened in a city somewhere in Europe, and it was a very popular place. And a friend of mine, he became kind of chief manager, right, of this place. And he was working. He was a Bhakti practitioner. He didn't meet himself. He followed all the principles and regulations of Bhakti, but his means of livelihood was, he was working in a restaurant business. He knew it inside out since he was like a teenager. He was brought up in this. He was Italian. And so, and he was always complaining and saying, it's very difficult for me. What can I do? But this is how I make my money. And, you know, where's the meat and wine and all this stuff. And so he was not very happy. And when this place opened up and he was offered a job there, he was happy. The wonderful job. I think they still drink as a Bhakti, again, serious Bhakti practitioner doesn't take any intoxications, right? But okay, that's been there. It's harm to yourself, but it's, at least you're not harming others. So he was working there, and then after maybe 3-4 months, he came to me and said, listen, Dayal, you know, I will be quitting, because I have never seen such arrogant, entitled human beings, unpolite and just proud and conceited as people who come to this place. So this is amazing. But the problem is that virtue signaling and, you know, becoming so proud of simple accomplishment of not eating meat, which you and me have been doing for so many years, is nothing to be proud of. It's a normal human standard, actually. And so this is very sad, right? But it's not all of the vegans are, you know, jerks. By no means.
Sure.
And not all meat eaters are jerks either.
Sure.
So we look at the quality of a human being, but we understand there's also karmic consequences. And this is, but not only for meat eating, actually anything which is not offered on the altar to God brings you karmic consequences. And, but you're killing vegetables. Yeah, there's also karmic consequences for eating vegetables. Not nearly as bad as meat. And we have this Ekadashi where you cannot eat grain because sin personified kind of enters grain. But yes, as Bhakti yogis, we only cook something not for us to enjoy, but we cook it for Krishna. The meditation, consciousness is very important. We offer it to Krishna, and he says, Patram pushpam palam toyam. You offer me as a fruit, leaf, flower, or water. Oh, this is the things which he wants. So we cook, we offer, and then we eat. So we are not vegetarians, actually, we are prasadarians. Yeah. Also, we eat sacred food, prasadam, always. You've been eating it all your life. I've been eating only prasadam since more than 20 years. So that's another level.
Right. Right. Every activity that we do has some fault in it, right? I mean, some meat eaters, I find it just a ridiculous argument, but they're like, oh, well, you pull a carrot out of the ground, so you kill the carrot, the carrot's screaming, it's in pain. Yes, I'm in agreement that there is a fault in that there is a karma involved in even me pulling a carrot. Not as much bad karma as me involved going to the store and buying a ham or something, whatever it is. Not as much, but there's, yes, every activity has some level of fault and some level of karmic baggage involved in it. So in order to antidote or counteract exactly the karmic baggage that happens when we do it in bhakti, when we do it as an offering, when we do it as an offering and a sacrifice, then that activity, it counteracts the karmic reaction. So that's a big part of our practice, is actually to take sattvic or mode of goodness food, because there are foods in various modes and foods that bring our consciousness into a more rajasic or passionate mode, or a tamasic more. And Krishna speaks about this quite deeply in the Gita, in some of the later chapters, where he speaks about diet very strongly, that this type of food keeps you in this mode, this type of food keeps you in this mode. So when we talk of a sattvic diet, even in sattvic, it's not just all vegetarian. I'd say, avoiding the too much oils, fried, too much chili. Like there's levels within the sattvic, within vegetarianism, that raise the consciousness. But it's not only that. What we're even trying to do is, as bhakti practitioners, we want to, first of all, get rid of the karma, do everything without the karma. We do it as an offering. And even beyond that, maybe that's a gateway to enter, right? Fear of karma. Okay, I don't want more karmic baggage, so I'm going to offer my food and make it try to make it in a conscious way. But even deeper than that, more bhakti or deeper bhakti is to literally want to do it because this is what Krishna wants. These are the things that Krishna wants. These are the things that my beloved wants to eat. And so I'm going to serve what my beloved wants to eat. Krishna says, yat karosi, yad asnasi, yad juhosi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi konte. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, whatever sacrifice you perform, do it as an offering to me. And that's how we start to develop our devotional mood. It's not necessarily, it may start as fear. That's one level of approaching God, is fear of material existence, fear of bondage, fear of the cycle. But truer bhakti, truer devotion, is that I want to do this as an offering. And that's why when a bhakti practitioner is cooking, he or she does it in the mood of a consciousness is, I'm going to offer this to my beloved. I'm going to offer this to Krishna. And then what we'll receive, as you called it, as it's called prasad. It's called the grace. It's called the mercy that we then receive. And the reactions of the karma are removed from that. Krishna says, I remove that from that.
Right. And one friend, it's not only cooking, it's the whole thing from buying vegetables. I remember one friend of mine was kind of remembering, or just speaking about his conversation with his wife, and said, what do you want to eat today? And he said, no, this is the wrong question. You should ask what Krishna wants to eat today.
What should we offer to Krishna?
Don't worry what I want to eat. Think or ask me, what do you think we can offer Krishna today? When we go to the shop, what I buy not for myself, what would I buy to buy and cook and offer to Krishna? There's a beautiful story in Chaitanya Charitamrita about Raghava Pandit, right? And his devotion was glorified as high standard of devotion. And he would daily offer, I don't remember, 3 or 5 or 10 coconuts. And it is said that even coconuts were growing everywhere around his house, but he would find where the best coconuts would be, far away. And we know there was no scooters, nothing, right? You have to travel on foot or whatever, on carriage for a long time. He gets these coconuts and he will bring every day, pay some extra expensive price, and he would bring it and offer it to Krishna. And one day his servant, he came and as he was entering the door, he touched the upper part of the door, right above
Like
his
doorway.
head. Yeah, I know. And then he said, "What did you do? Now you touched," and everybody goes in and out of the door, and the dust from their feet goes and stuck there in this, not the ceiling, in this door frame. And therefore it's not offerable to Krishna because you touch something which touched the foot of somebody else. So he discarded all this coconut and sent it again. So it was glorified as one of the topmost way to serve Krishna. So
He
offering
sounds a
food
little
to Krishna.
OCD to me.
You see, yeah, it is.
But we can dovetail that in devotion
yeah,
too,
it is,
right?
It is. It OCD for Krishna becomes high level of devotion. OCD for yourself is becoming very unhealthy. So yeah, this is another level of understanding the diet. And now going to why nowadays, of course, milk industry is also very cruel and very exploitative, and therefore many devotees also only try to use milk which is sourced in a ahimsa way. And this is only possible if you live near Goshala like we do here in Mayapur, where people whom we know, they protect the cows, we know how they take care of them.
They'll live their full life.
They live their full life. They also die naturally. But even in India, it's quite rare. So to find this source is difficult. It's still better to offer the milk to Krishna. At least those animals get the benefit of connecting, offering whatever was gotten with such a pain from them that is connected to Krishna. That's why a lot of devotees, for the compassion to the animals, they still use it. So it's a higher principle actually. But why milk is used, and again, some people say milk is only supposed to be for the calves. And again, it's just a speculation. Why you decided like this? Who said it is like this? And if you don't go back to tradition, you go back to how God, how a creator intended to have this, then you're open to all kind of speculation. I mean, why don't we eat our all, stool? Pigs do it, so it's very nutritious for them, but we don't. And somebody can make case for this, and I'm pretty sure some people do. Some people eat horrible things.
Yeah.
So, but in the spiritual
Dogs.
world, yeah,
cannibalism has been accepted in some certain tribes,
I think in Africa. Aboriginal tribe. So there's everything goes if you just go by your whim. So where does it stop again? You need to come in contact with divine knowledge. And Krishna lives on a planet called Goloka. It's actually a planet of cows. And his father said to her, listen, guys, this is a little bit, sounds fantastic. A lot of things which you go to the spiritual realm sounds fantastic, but what to do? It's the nature of a spiritual realm. So his father has 900,000 cows. And they always go in the spiritual world. They collect milk, they churn yogurt. Krishna's favorite food is butter. He's called Makanchor, butter thief. So yes, God loves milk products. So if you offer milk product to Krishna, he really appreciates it. So that's why veganism is not traditionally part of Bhakti. But I know, again, I myself, for the most part, vegan, I eat milk product very rarely.
I think that I think that also that we besides being vegetarian, if we really wanted to, and this is just my critique maybe of our community a little bit, I'd like to share, is that we could be focusing more in our wider Western communities uh, on the protection of cows
Yeah.
and providing for the community ahimsa, nonviolent, milk products that are being meant for the deities, and the deities should definitely be offered milk products that are not bought from
Yeah.
from the animal industry, if as much as possible. And I feel like it's somewhere to move towards. It's
Yeah.
somewhere to move towards. I feel strongly that I would like to support that type of industry in our movement. And the big
Just
go
on
ahead.
this point,
Yeah.
it's definitely a very subsidized. I mean, you have to subsidize this thing. You cannot have ahimsa milk and be profitable. It's literally not possible
Yeah.
unless people pay premium, which people usually don't want to pay. So you need to have it's a charity case, and unfortunately, well, maybe now with the vegan movement or whatever, it's possible. But yeah, it definitely a little bit kind of a uphill battle, with this.
Well, we support the Brahmanas, right? Go Brahmana hitaya cha. The verse says that Krishna loves the Brahmanas, and so we support the Brahmanas in our society, the priests and the cows, right? So, like you said, I think that culture can be developed more, where actually the cows are being the subsidization for the cows. Krishna loves the cows so much, and particularly when it comes to karma, the as you said, it's not just the consciousness of the cooking, but it's like, what am I buying? How am I getting it? Where am I getting it from? This consciousness that makes it all an offering. On the other side of that, not only the person that eats meat is tied into the karma, right? That especially they say that as many hairs there are on the cow, that many lifetimes the person who slaughters that cow, who sells the meat, who transports it, who sells it, who buys it from the store, who cooks it, who eats it, all of those people are all implicated in the karmic baggage of however many hairs there are on that cow's body. That many times they also will be slaughtered. And so what is this creating? What is this creating? I mean, is there any question why there's world wars around world wars are going around, and people are completely have no compassion for each other, no tolerance for each other? It's so much to do with the diet. And I've heard interesting, I have to study where this is from, but I've heard that, and this is I've heard this, so I have to verify it, and I probably shouldn't even say it, but it's interesting that there are certain pain places around the world where mass animal slaughter is happening, and those places tend to have not as much water, and also like tremors, natural disasters, specifically earthquakes and tremors. And it's just interesting how that happens. First of all, there's a karmic field around that area that is causing these pain and disasters to happen, because there's already pain happening there. And I'd have to research that, but I've taken that analogy a little further, that in the Vedas, oftentimes Mother Earth, Bhumi Devi, the personification of the earth appears as a cow, right? And cows, if you throw a rock on this part of the cow, she'll just shake just that part right there, So you put some pain, you hit a cow in a specific place, and they'll shake right in that spot. So if Bhumi Devi is embodied in the form of a cow and the cows shake that way, there could be these pain energy fields that she's just like, okay, this is not working for me. Let's get rid of some of this karmic stuff going on. But the positive side of it is that we can eat healthily. We can make offerings to God. We can do it with love. We can do it with compassion. We can do it with devotion. We can move towards a place that is more uplifting of our consciousness, that is healthy, that is not causing pain and suffering to other beings.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful life.
And I have not seen, people that, I'm pretty sure that people like this exist. I haven't seen anybody who eat vegetarian, especially in our tradition, for the right reasons, and then they look back and crave for the meat. I never, although I stopped eating meat not based on my faith, never did I look back. Actually, whenever I see meat, it's it's a disturbing sight for me. And when I smell, I want to, throw up. It's a disgusting stuff. It's nothing attractive about it.
Well, the beautiful verse in the Gita also says that when you experience something, it even uses the word a higher taste, right? When you start to develop a higher taste, and it's not only speaking about food, it's talking about just things in general, a certain level, a certain type of conversation that you once had, that then you just don't like that anymore because you've experienced a beautiful exchange that has uplifted you, and then you're like, that lower taste is the only way to give up a lower taste is to experience a higher taste, right?
Exactly.
To experience something that fills the spot and that you develop something higher. Like you're talking about, you can eat stool or something like that. That's the lowest state. What to speak of other things that to us feel just as comparable, right? But it, until that higher taste is developed and a more refined taste, whether it's for the mouth, whether it's for whatever we take in through our senses, it takes a bit of conscious intention.
Yeah. And also, if you don't do it for the right reasons, if you just, for example, you become vegan or vegetarian just for the health, then somebody else comes and gives different theory and you can switch to other things for the health reason. Once you understand it's not an option, eating meat is not an option, then you will look for proper healthy diet within vegetarian and vegan diet, and it is absolutely possible. I'm 45, I'm in a best shape of my life, best health of my life, and it's been progressing. And the more, it takes some supplements, natural supplements, and vitamins, which just make a blood analysis of, to take your blood work and see what is lacking is in your body, and supplement it with a vegetarian or vegan sourced supplements. It's all available. And so I think that's important to know. Once you understand the right reason why you should not go there, then there's plenty of alternatives.
I think that's interesting that if you come at it from purely a health perspective, you may not be fully satisfied, right? I'm saying coming from, moving away from meat eating diet just for health reasons. I would also argue that if you come at it purely for ethical reasons also, there is also even then a chance that you may not feel fully satisfied, that one may not feel fully satisfied. Because, as we said, I may not kill animals, but every time I breathe, I'm breathing in so many bacteria and amoebas and whatever. And every time I walk, and the Jains, they cover their mouth, they sweep in front of them. They're really trying to, eating only fruit that falls from a tree because you don't want to give pain to the tree when it's being picked. Like how far do you go with the ethics, right? So even from an ethical perspective, right? And then there's then there's maybe even more subtle than that would be like a fear of karma, fear of bondage. So even if you come from a place of, I do this because I don't want karma, because I don't want that baggage, even then, you're still creating some type, it's coming from a fear-based place. And bhakti's, I'd say that even though it may be an entrance into bhakti, it's not the goal of bhakti. The goal of bhakti is love. The goal of bhakti is devotion. The goal of bhakti is service. The goal of bhakti is to make everything that we do an offering. And the thing that we do every single day of our lives, except and if you're on a fast, but even then you're drinking water. And Krishna says, I am the taste of water. So if you think of Krishna when you're drinking that water, you can't live too many days without water. So you got to do that. I do have a friend that did a 40-day fast, only water, and then the last few days, so a cleanse. But if we do things, that's why bhakti is so sweet, because there's no way that you're going to regress towards any previous way of being once you experience doing any activity in pure love. And I'm not there, but I see that is the place to get to, where every activity I want to do is just to please the beloved, just to please the beloved of my heart, of our hearts. And if I can truly start to adapt my diet towards that, then I can truly start to enter into bhakti, enter into devotional mood. I would like to say that for anyone that's listening to this, I would at least I would like to encourage you to cut out the eating of cows from your diet. I would implore that be done, because the implications of that on so many levels are just too intense, too heavy, and I truly believe that if that one thing is done, then our consciousness will gradually begin to evolve, and we'll begin to experience what we were speaking about, a more loving, compassionate heart.
Yeah. And I also want to encourage guys, if I know we kind of made this presentation on the fly, because we thought from which angle to go to it. I think we tried to cover some bases and what is, I think, was most important to us. But if you have any doubts or questions and want us to develop a little bit more this topic, we would be happy to. We want to hear some feedback, some particular, maybe some pushbacks or whatever it is. And then we can specifically maybe address this in part 2, somewhere along the way.
Yeah, like it's like every time we have these discussions, I always walk away and I'm like, we could have added this, we could have added that. So,
Yeah. I mean, now I feel like we can go a couple hours more, But yeah, I think
after we eat some prasadam
and have some kirtan, Yeah, but I think it's good for now. Thanks, Vish, for us having this discussion.
Check this out. Come on, this is meat-free diet.
Anyway, thanks for being with us today, and we'll catch you in the next one. Haribol.
Haribol.